Today on our morning show, we're going to talk sports, specifically Richland Center Hornet Sports with Kirk Layer, who's here representing the Richland Center Sports Boosters. And it's that time of year again, Kirk, for another Sting Night.
This was a feature, I think we're fastly approaching in on the 10th year of Sting Night. We started out down at the White House, down there for 2 to 3 or 4 years, and then we went out to the high school for a while. And now our gracious host, this will be their 3rd year, is the Phoenix Center, or the bowling alley, whatever people like to call it. But the Shep family and Tom Haber have been great in hosting us now. This will be their 3rd year.
It works out well there for all of the items that you have on display, too, doesn't it?
You know, it came up an idea of the board, I think it was when I first got on, that they decided, instead of, first of all, you needed a decent fundraiser. So we decided, we could do this with, silent auctions and stuff like that. But then somebody threw in the idea of, why don't we give the Hall of Fame awards out at the same time? And I'll tell you, that has been just a blessing in disguise. It's instead of trying to do it at a halftime at a basketball game, or like wrestling, trying to do it in between rounds, or right now Bill Twain does a really nice job of doing it at the Invitational, so that works out better and stuff. But this really has kind of set it off by itself. And then Andy Troxel came to us a few years ago, and he said, do you want to add signing night to this, and we thought about it for a while, and we said, why not? And that's just been awesome. The whole feature is the night is, first of all, to raise funds for the sports teams of Richland Center, but then to highlight the Hall of Fame members. And now we also get to highlight the young athletes who are going to continue their careers at the collegiate level, or even sometime at the technical level, as far as in sports.
So you bring on the new ones, you bring on some of the old ones too.
You bet. Yeah, we're doing it all. And it's really turned into, it's our biggest fundraiser of the year, and it's probably, I would have to say, our funnest one of the year. Because the other thing we've been able to add now, since we're at the bowling alley, we've added kids wrestling. You can tell where my mind is a lot of times.
Yeah, right. Roll the mat out and let them go.
Kids bowling, and that's where the high school athletes actually, they kind of run that for us, and they sit there and they bowl with the young adults that come to the event. It gives them something to do for a while, so their parents can go shop the silent auction items and stuff. So that's how it worked out really good.
Now, is that how the boosters make the most money then, is through the silent auction?
I would say, the biggest thing there. And the other thing that's been really nice the last few years, because we know it's Sting Night and that we've had a lot of businesses that, instead of giving an item, have donated cash. So we get a lot of very nice cash donations. And, Cardinal Glass has given a lot of good ones over the last few years. Jones Chevrolet is always in there. We'll talk about them more. But they've all been really good donators. So we get a lot of cash donations, and then we get a lot of really nice auction items. Probably, again, one of the ones, the biggest auction item we have again this year is the concert tickets. Now I'm going to forget who. I think it's Chris Singleton. There we go.
Chris Stapleton.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you. The music guy will help me out. Thank you.
I had to think about it for a minute, but yeah. Oh, man, that'll be a good show.
Yeah, that's in the Twin Cities there, and that's donated by Sleepy Hollow. They've been really generous the last umpteen years, too, So we got a lot of really great donors, and, even some of the businesses in town, they may not give huge items, but when you go to a silent auction, you want to have something for everybody, and that's what really helped us out a lot. And anything that's given is always very well appreciated and very much heartfelt, that thank you for what you're doing and what you do to help the athletes of Richland Center High School.
Kirk, can you give us an example of some of the things that the sports boosters have put money towards here in the last year?
Well, we just had a meeting here where we decided to help out. The football program needs a new stand to film their events from, so we helped them out with that. We've done a lot of things for the weight room. The weight room has probably been one of our keyest focuses. One of the ones that a lot of people don't really look at a whole lot because it's just a scoreboard out there in the outfield. But that one year we had some decent amount of money in our fund, and we funded half of the baseball scoreboard down there. So all in all, in uniforms now have gotten to be an issue that every year now with the tight school budgets, there hasn't hardly been a team that hasn't come to us and at least asked us to help with their uniforms. I think one of the latest ones is we just gave some money towards the track team. They got a new coach this year. She looks like an exciting young lady that's going to, maybe put some life into that program. Mm-hmm. Not that it was dead, but it was.
Right. Michelle Lewis.
Yeah, it's always good to have new blood in there and get some new ideas, too.
And I think she told me 52 athletes out, so that's a good number.
That's exciting, yeah. And they got some... talking to some people around, with some of the young athletes that we've got in the school, we got some really good runners, whether it's cross country or in track.
Yes, we do. So, we'll look at that. We want to also talk about some of the items in the silent auction. Do you have a list of those, Kirk?
Not really. I didn't really think of bringing that, but I just, I picked a few items and don't have them all yet, too, because that's part of my job yet today is to go out and see some more of them. But some of the more exciting ones I've seen so far is we got a radio from one company, a Milwaukee radio that's valued at, a couple $100. A lot of other really fun things, from baskets to things like that. And a lot of merchandise as far as clothing will be there too. Some really good stuff. Some of our bigger donors haven't donated yet, but we're, look at the Facebook site. Megan Clerkin, who's one of our former officers, I guess now I'd have to say, she does a really good job of getting it on Facebook and, highlighting the members that, are helping us out. I just saw Wirtz Plumbing and Heating, and they gave a free cleaning for your air conditioner and your furnace, so those are some of the cool items that are there.
The Sports Boosters, you work on getting plaques that you place in the hall then at Richland Center High School?
Those are how we recognize our new Hall of Fame members. And it was kind of a nice feature this year. We had to go to Laura, and she had to talk to the school staff there. We actually filled up all of our slots there on the wall, and they have to build us a new rack so that we can get a whole new row of Hall of Fame members in there. So that's a nice, fun feature to have, too, or challenge to have, we'll call it.
Your sing nights have gone well. I know last year you had a really nice turnout as well.
Yeah, the one thing that we've added, and we'll talk more about that as we get into the members going in this year, but the last few years we've decided to honor former teams, and so has the wrestling group has decided to honor teams, and that has just been a huge plus. It really has. First of all, you draw in more individuals because of the team members there and the excitement of their families coming in too. So we got a really good bunch coming in this year of one team, and we'll talk about them in a few minutes.
Yeah, the team aspect is great because there might have been several on the team that were role players that probably would never get a mention for a Hall of Fame, but they can be in as a part of a team.
Well, the first team we put in was the track team, and they had some outstanding individuals, and I'm not going to try to name names because then I'll miss some of them, but some of them have been really good community members here in Richland County too, But that was like you just said there, it was not just the ones who won awards at the state tournament, it was all the members, and you being involved with teams your life or done sports all of your life, it's always, you can never misplay or downplay that membership of a team member, what they add to that team. They may not have been the super scorer that night, but if it wasn't for this play here or that play there, the team wouldn't have been as successful as they were.
Absolutely. And I think, too, overlooked a lot of times in this day and age is being a member of a team and a scout team. Like, even if you're practicing against the varsity, you're pushing them to be better all the time.
Well, that we just covered that. When you're a member of a team, you are just that, a member of a team. You play I don't like using the word play your role, but sometimes that's what it is. You play your role and you give the other team members, someone to work with. I just saw that one team that I believe was at the girls' state basketball tournament. Maybe it was a nice thing to have for them at work, but they only had 8 members on their team. That had to be, like you say, challenging, because you're never doing 5-on-5 drills. You're doing 4-on-4 drills, and it's just not the same thing.
Or the coaches are filling in the last 2 positions to have 5-on-5.
Yeah, they get tired really fast.
Yeah, they do. So what night is Sting Night this year, Kirk?
Okay, it's going to be, excuse me, it's going to be next Saturday, April 18th at the Phoenix Center. Doors open at 4:30. We will have the silent auctions items there probably by noon or 1 o'clock. So if you want to stop in earlier, I think we're working on that. I don't know if we got it up. The Chris Stapleton thing may already be up at the bowling alley, but I'm not sure of that. So that's as far as bidding items there. The kids bowling starts shortly. I thought I turned that off.
That's a nice ringtone. I never thought of that. Men at work, who can it be now? He put it under the table for a radio audience that couldn't shut it off, so you just put it under the table.
Could get it off. But kids bowling starts shortly after that, and then we get into the Hall of Fame at 5:30 with the group of members we got going in this year. That should last. We're figuring anywhere from to 6:30, 7 o'clock. And then we'll take a break in there because we also are having a $500 raffle, and that's a winner-take-all type raffle. We'll announce that winner after the Hall of Fame. We'll give about a 30-minute break in there between the Hall of Fame and signing night. The key features that is to allow our Hall of Fame members to take pictures and stuff like that and spend some time there at the awards area. And then they'll step off to the side, and then we'll do our signing night. And based on what I saw Megan post, I know for sure there's 6 members getting in. 2 of them football players, a couple we talked about runners just a little bit ago here. A couple of them are runners that one of them, and I hope he shows up too, one of them was a runner, I believe, ran for on the cross country. Clayton Lee's from Ithaca, right?
Ithaca Weston, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Ithaca, well, actually, for the cross country team, it would be Richland Center Ithaca.
Yeah.
But yeah, track team is Ithaca Weston. But
yeah.
So he'll be there. Yeah, he ran cross country.
Yeah, he ran cross country on that team that went to state for him. I think actually there's 2 members on that getting in. Ryan, see, now I mentioned names. Now I should mention them all. But
Ryan
Stadler's getting on too. I can't remember them all. I know on Liam Fingerson is on football. So we got at least 6 members or more for signing night. So that's really fun too. Andy does a really nice job with that too. And then there'll be some appetizers around there and stuff, but it's really cool night. The silent auction items are out in what I would call the bowling alley area. And then the banquet hall is where all the ceremonies will be going on for the induction of the Hall of Fame members and also for the signing night.
That's a big night. We've got all of those Hall of Famers on a list here. We need to talk about them and highlight them. We'll do that after the break here on the morning show. Kirk Layer, representing the Richland Center Sports Boosters, is our guest here on WRCO's Morning Show. We're talking Richland Center Sports with Kirk Layer. Richland Sports Boosters Sting Night coming up a week from Saturday as well. And as we come back, Kirk, we wanted to highlight this year's people and teams that will be going into the Hall of Fame.
Well, we got quite a class this year. And we started out at first with about 5 members and that were going to go in. And then the success of putting in the one team, our whole group got together way last fall and said, I don't know, I think we should do a team again. So now we have 6 members going in. We're going to add a team in there. So we got 4 really great individuals that are going in, a local business that's going in, and a fantastic team from 1987.
Well, let's start with the team, perhaps. Going into well, I didn't know what order you had there, but the team of 1987, and that's volleyball, correct?
Yep, I'll get there.
All right.
Well, it was, like you say, it was the first legit, see, now when we just talked about that earlier, but it was the that's recognized as an organized team. We did the girls track team, which we did call that a team, but as far as what most people recognize as a, let's say, an old-fashioned team, the volleyball team from 1987, the girls team there, they put right on their plaque, they were a team that broke barriers, becoming true champions. All obstacles were overcome. It's just exciting to see a group like that get in. There's some big names on there. Those names will come out tonight, or you'll see it on the plaque. Eric already did a nice job putting it in the paper there. I believe, if I remember right, they really weren't conference champions, but when they got in that state tournament trail, they beat some awesome teams like Cuba City and River Valley and Platteville in their regional. And then they beat Waunakee, Holman, and then Berlin. They beat in a 3-set match, which is kind of rare there. And even the last match went to be 17-15 that they won. And then at the state tournament, they beat New Holstein in the first round, and then they beat East Troy in 3 sets. And that's back when they weren't doing the rally scoring either. You had to legitimately earn your points. You had to be on offense to earn your points.
Those matches took a long time, too.
Yes, they did.
Because each team would exchange, serves, side outs, and there'd be no points scored. So it would go on. And even though they only played to 15.
It took
quite a while.
But it was 2 out of 3, too. But like you say, that my daughter played in that era, too. It was, you earned your money.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. And then finally they beat Hayward in 2 sets in the final. So awesome team. The group was really excited. Of course, we're one of the local coaches here that I still talk to as often as I can is Chris Mulholland. She was really excited and got a hold of all the members and stuff. She was an assistant coach on that team. Just some really great team members on there. Lori Flanagan was the head coach. And then also Neil Morgenthaler. We're going to talk about that name a little bit more.
Wayne,
excuse me. I let out something there now. See, Neil was in my mind, but yeah. But Wayne was the assistant coach. So, in talking to Lori and Chris too, this is the exciting part about it. I think there was 16 members on the team, and they're fairly confident that at least 15 or more of them are going to show up, and all 3 coaches are going to be there Saturday night. So,
that's wonderful.
Yeah, we're excited about that.
Yeah.
And they're excited too. The pictures they have and on their plaque are really special. I think it's, the idea of these teams getting in. We've been very, very happy with it. We got some of these ideas from other booster clubs or Hall of Fames in the area, and it's just worked out really great. We're running out of teams. Everybody says, well, where did you find these teams? We just looked up on the gym wall, and there was, 3 of them up there. So we really want to encourage people. I've had several people come up to me and say, well, what about this team or that team? And I said, we did the obvious thing. Now we're looking for other people to come in and nominate some of the other teams. Otherwise, we'll just probably go back ourselves and look for either, teams that qualified or teams that were runner-ups or third or whatever else, There's some things like that. And then also it's interesting. There's one team way back in the 1950s that was a track team that was second in state. Some of the history stuff that people put out there. So that's a team that we're seriously going to look at in the next few years too.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That group of athletes, that 87 volleyball team, those women were good in basketball. They were good in softball and track and field. So, and they contributed greatly. I mean, I believe they were conference champions in softball that year, that later on that year.
Well, they had a Dahlberg on that team, so I'm sure that had a big impact of that.
Gail Hoffman was on the team, I believe, who later played for Purdue. So.
Yep. She went on and had a great collegiate career, but he had Sherry Dahlberg on that team, and if there was a Dahlberg that wasn't a pitcher, that would be a surprise. So, and that's typical of, like you say, and even when talking about these athletes as we get into them, they really excelled at maybe one sport that they really did well, and even sometimes in 2 sports, but in almost all the cases, they were 3-sport athletes and did well in all of them. just talked to somebody about that yesterday. It's hard to see, nowadays athletes specialize in one sport. You kind of understand it because that's what your really successful collegians or even people who go on to be professional players are doing. But I hope all of us realize that we're still in Wisconsin or the upper Midwest or rural, whatever. Let these young athletes enjoy their careers and let them be involved in whatever they can be. If you do have that real high goal like a Haken Peterson or something like that, I'm not going to begrudge you to go for that too. If that's your thing, go for it. We'll be right there in the sidelines cheering you on and enjoying the day because those are fun athletes to watch too.
Right. If you talk about pro athletes, though, especially the NFL, look down the list of how many were state wrestlers. Or, there was a Brewer last year that was a 4-time Illinois state tournament wrestling qualifier. So, you specialize, and maybe it's your favorite sport, but I think sometimes you have more fun in some of the sports where you're not so serious too, right?
Well, that too, it just, first of all, it's the camaraderie. A lot of people have to realize and understand that sports isn't all about winning and losing. It's about, we were just talking about it earlier, the camaraderie with your teammates. The friendships you form, and not even just the friendships with your teammates. You'd be surprised in a lot of these team sports, and even a lot of times with wrestling. I always used to tell people in wrestling, you had to learn how to get along with people if you're going to spend on a Saturday 8 to 10 hours in the gym with all these people. So you even got to know some of the neighboring, competitors. Well, I sat next to Fred all day long, and it turned out he wasn't quite as bad a guy as I thought.
Yes, indeed. It's especially wrestling. It's a tight-knit family.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But sports is that, the camaraderie with your teammates and the idea of, these smaller schools, they really do need all their athletes to be involved, but we aren't going to begrudge them, like I say, if that's what they want to do. But let's be realistic. And used to bug especially my granddaughter Paige when I said, because I heard this a long time ago, a guy from out east, of highly respected young gentleman, he said, when your kids get done with an event and come off the field or the court or whatever, he said, don't ask them if they won or lost or whatever, look at them right in the eye and say, did you have fun tonight? Because that's, to me, is what athletics is about, is having fun.
That's number one. It should be. Absolutely. And but it's been scary with numbers. Girls basketball, there's some big schools that don't have enough for JV, the bigger schools. And then this year in the Southwest Conference, it's first year ever that there isn't a single team that has a separate JV team. They'll play a few JV innings afterwards, but, it used to be you'd play varsity here, JV's playing there, but they don't have enough to do that. So
that's,
participation is down.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And you see that, several of the local schools here saw some stuff on the media stuff, is that, Highland is seriously looking at, what they can do as far as keeping their sports. They recognize, and a lot of good people in Highland, they recognize good sports, and they've had some great sports over the years too, and state championship teams. But you can't manufacture you can manufacture numbers, but the rural communities, there's not, we could talk about that all day, all the little farms. You and I both came from little farms.
Yep.
But they aren't there anymore. You just hope that there's somebody still on that building site, living in the house or something. But
most definitely.
Yep.
So anyway, well, we've got the team going in, the 1987 volleyball team, and let's get to some of the individuals, Kirk.
Well, you switched directions on me, so we're going to start with the next direction.
Okay.
We're going to go, another thing we started several years ago, and we started right here with this organization here. We decided that we had a lot of key contributors in our community that were giving back to the community, giving to the sports programs and things like that. So WRCO was our first key contributor who got into our Hall of Fame, and we've done some others since that. Sharon Pansky would be one that fit in that group. So this year we're going to honor a business, and that's going to be Jones Chevrolet. And one thing, I saw them write on their plaque, and it just really touched me. So I'm going to read it. For over 100 years, Jones Chevrolet has served the people of Richland Center and the surrounding area. And that's through 4 generations of service and community involvement. Their generosity, commitment, and belief in our young people have made a lasting impact on our athletic programs and our community. So we're really excited that Jones Chevrolet is going to be inducted in our Hall of Fame as a key contributor.
Well, congratulations to them, and I guarantee you their business name is on a lot of the T-shirts during T-shirt nights and programs and yearbooks and things like that, and have been for years and years. So, yeah. Well-deserved.
Well-deserved is right. And we do have more applicants for key businesses in the future. I just had somebody ask me the other day, are we going to do more businesses? And yes, we are. It may not be one every year, but we are going to do more businesses. And we just, in your business is all about sponsorships and people supporting your programs and stuff. The businesses of Richland County and especially Richland Center, because you and I both make our living here, just some fantastic contributors and will support our community.
Mm-hmm. Very well said. And you couldn't do it without them. I mean, any of the sport teams, and we talk a lot on this program about school budgets, but you gotta, if you're going to have uniforms and you're going to have new equipment, and it has to go outside of the school budgets.
Well, and it's not just that, because at least my young grandchildren that were here in Richland Center High School, they were involved in other things like forensics and band and choir, all those things take money to run, and it's just good that we have people that contribute and support the young people of Richland Center High School and Richland Center community.
The soccer program is now into about 36, 37 years, somewhere in that area, as a sponsored for boys and girls since that time. So you've got some soccer people recognized this year.
Well, a few years ago, and we'll give him a big plug right away, is Rick Piezeski, saw me, I think it might be about a bit at Stingray, and he goes, how come there's not, again, you've heard this story, how come there's not any soccer players in the Hall of Fame? And I said, Rick, somebody never nominated him.
That's the whole key, isn't it?
So he made up for that one year. And it was kind of ironic. It took a few years, but you'll see emphasis of, all 4 of these individuals that we're putting in were soccer players. But they were also athletes in other programs too. But we'll cover them as we go. But our first soccer player that we're going to recognize here is Amy Roble. You always got to go women first, And Amy was... again, a 4-year varsity winner in soccer, 4-year varsity winner in basketball, team captain I see here on many things in her plaque. And then volleyball, she was a 3-year varsity winner, just an all-around great athlete for Richland Center. And this was, she was a class of 2000 she graduated. So she was in that era where they had some great athletes at Richland Center, and and it took, like you say, it took soccer a while to get going. I still remember, as you go way back, watching my daughter play. At that time, it wasn't even called Rays. They were played out the campus field out there, played soccer on Saturday. So, and people like Rick Piezeski and several others have done a great job. Kim Lucky, I'll throw in there too, that comes right to mind as far as keeping soccer going here. And it's still, you drive by out there on a Saturday, I don't know if you call that organized chaos or what.
It's busy, that's for sure.
That's for sure. But Amy's going to come into the program, and we're excited to have her come in. And just I can't remember to miss out on this, is she went on to UW Oshkosh, and she was a 4-year letter winner there at UW Oshkosh. And this tells you the ability and the standout citizenship of a lot of our athletes that go through Richland Center High School. She was also a team captain there. And that sometimes means a lot more than maybe being the key scorer or whatever, or defensive player. When you're a team captain, that means your team members recognize you as a leader.
Right, exactly. So she played soccer in college then as well.
UW Oshkosh.
For 4 years, yes.
That's her picture there.
There she is. And did we have a girls program at that time, or was she on the boys team? Because there were some women that played on the boys teams back then. That's a good question.
You asked Rick Piezeski.
I'll have to ask him.
Yeah.
I know he'll know too.
Yeah, he will. Yep. So that covers,
it was girls. Joanne says it was girls. Okay, I can't remember when Richland Center started.
There we go.
The girls program.
It was mid to late 90s, because my daughter played with the boys for 2 years. And then it was
okay.
girls, and she graduated in 96.
Thank you, Joanne. So the girls program started in the late 90s. So
there we
she
go.
Was in the girls. Okay.
Yeah. We always have all these experts around here that help us out.
Years run into years, but I do remember calling some women when they didn't have the opportunity to play.
Now, Brian Jelanic, and actually, I mentioned his name earlier. Bill Twining came up the other day to me because he heard who he was getting in. He goes, I was going to get him in there. So we had him into the All-School Hall of Fame before the wrestling group got after him because, Brian Jelanic, again, here's another athlete. You look at he was involved in track. He got varsity letters in track, and wrestling. He was lettered there many years. He also was he wrestled. He was a conference champion in regionals, and he even went to the state tournament for Richland Center as far as in wrestling. So when you look at the other things he's done in soccer, again, team captain, most valuable defensive player, letters. 2 years as captain, 3 years as lettering. It just third at state, like I said, in wrestling. It just Brian Jelanic, and the other thing that Brian Jelanic is a very good businessman here in Richland Center. So excited to see him get in.
You bet. Congratulations to him.
Yep. And then we talk about the Piezeski. I think this one probably gives Rick and Mary more pride than anything is Micah Piezeski. And you look at the things that he did. 3-year varsity team member, team captain again his senior year, most valuable offensive player for his last 3 years in high school, sophomore, junior, and senior season. At one point, he had scored 60 career goals in soccer, and a record 24 in a single season. Ranked him actually that year second in the state of Wisconsin, so that's pretty outstanding. But then again, and we could go on and on about him for soccer, and probably should mention he also went on, this was back, like you say, in the late 90s, that soccer was big out at UW Richland, and I think all three of these soccer guys did go out and played soccer at UW Richland, 2 besides. And so soccer was a big part of their life, and a big thing as far as, the community here. Oh, there's where Brian's thing was. I knew I had that somewhere. But the other thing is, again, he was Micah was also a very good wrestler, too. He 4-year varsity letter winner in wrestling, champion at Richland Center Invitational, so he was part of that team that went to Team State and got in the Hall of Fame as far as the wrestling team in the Richland Center Wrestling Hall of Fame. So really excited for Micah Piezeski as our third member into the Hall of Fame.
He'll be in there twice then as a team member and then also as an individual. So that's pretty cool.
Yep. And I always say to people, because there is the 2 Hall of Fames, if you're in one or the other, actually there's a very select few of individuals that are in both. It doesn't make any difference. You're in the Richland Center Hall of Fame and you've done some outstanding things for Richland Center High School.
And what is awesome is walking down the hall and seeing that, and because the Wrestling Hall of Honor people are listed as well, and your Sting people are in there as well, and you go to a tournament. Richland Center hosted a number of them this year in wrestling, but people from other schools and communities going down there and looking at it and reminiscing a little bit.
It's the Hall of Fame down that hall, but it's also, if you don't get caught up to looking at everything to your left as you're walking down the hall. Make sure you look to your right, because there's also the state champions, the conference honors, and other things there too, and a lot of state champions up there too, and all the sports too, so make sure you check out both sides of that hall. Like you say, that's pretty impressive. It is kind of interesting too. Some of these schools have gotten to have so many honorees and stuff that they're actually putting them on digital things, so that you can watch it in one spot, so it's great success story down that hallway, and great success. And the one thing I touted a lot over the last several years, especially not so much since I've been in the Booster Club, but you get a chance to talk more when you're in the Booster Club. But Richland Center High School, we have to remember what we built out there as a community has been a fantastic addition to the community, and we're utilizing it now with these tournaments. Like you say, we wouldn't be able to do that. And I was a wrestling official, so I always said, if you're going to host a tournament, first of all, you had to have a big enough gym where you could put down 3 or 4 mats and had adequate seating that everybody could have a decent seat for the day. And probably, first of all, I should have mentioned is you better have a big enough parking lot so people can come in and park, or have somewhere to park so they can get into the building. And then you have to have a really nice commons area, so that people can get through the lunch lines and have a place to sit and have lunch and enjoy the days. Richland Center High School has all 3 of those components, which makes them a fantastic site. Plus then location. We're in the heart of Southwest Wisconsin, and that's one thing the group out there, as far as the administrative staff, has done a fantastic job of, getting tournaments, almost to the point where it burns the Booster Club out a little bit. So we're always looking for volunteers to help run those tournaments. And our young athletes did a great job this year at all the tournaments we did. Are you telling me we're getting close to the end here? I better wrap her up.
Wrap it up? No, you got one more to talk about, I think.
That's why I thought I could tell you. I looked at the clock there. Our last nominee or award winner here is Neil Morgenthaler, and I know this means a lot to this family, too. We just mentioned that Wayne is going to be there with the team. And I bumped into somebody the other day, and they said, I think there's 11 Morgenthalers or something like that coming. So
great. Really
excited for that. You look at him again, another soccer player that probably was his best sport. When he played that both in high school and in college. But in soccer, he was, again, an MVP. 2-year letter winner, but also played basketball. He was all-conference honorable mention. Again, captain 2 years in a row. Track, he was very good at. He was a letter winner in track. And as I mentioned before, another played collegiately at UW Richland, So exciting number of members we got here. Really excited for the group. And as I mentioned earlier, we've gone to this was Sharon Pansky. I'll give her all the credit in the world for it. She told us that, because her family was spread out all over areas, since she's originally from over in the Green Bay or Fond du Lac area, somewhere along the 41 corridor she's from. She goes, you guys need to pick the members earlier and tell them ahead of time. So we've already picked our group for 2027, which is exciting too. There's another good team in there, so we'll look forward to that. It's not a secret, but I don't have all the names here, so I'm not going to go. But I will mention that one team from 2007. So come to the night. Again, Sting Night, like I said, the doors basically into the ceremony area or to the banquet hall area open at 4:30. Amy and Greg and the whole Phoenix Center staff, they do a great job that night. Make sure you patronize them well and thank them for their service to the Richland community area. They've just done a lot of great things there, and just look into a lot of fun things that happen. The biggest thing too about that night that I want to mention and keep in there is the fact that we get all of our athletes, not all, but a good percentage of them. They come and they do the bucket raffles the raffle. They do the kids bowling. They just do a lot of other things where they're intermingling amongst the crowd and talking to people, especially talking to our Hall of Fame members. And the Hall of Fame members enjoy talking to them. And that interaction between the current athletes and these Hall of Fame members, especially when you have 16 volleyball players running around besides the other 4 individuals that are getting in, it's just a great chance to see Richland Center High School at its finest as far as athletes.
You bet. Kind of maybe again, building on that pride a little bit of the past and incorporating it now. I think you wanted to mention, too, that it's cash or check only for
some. Yeah, the Venmo thing wasn't working out for us, so make sure you bring your cash or a check along. We'll accept both of those very well. And it's, that we do a time in there, we'll have a couple cashiers out in the hallway, and it's gotten pretty efficient. It doesn't take you long to pay for your things and pick them up, and it's carry them out that night too. We want to emphasize that, if you buy something, please pick it up that night and pay for it, and that you should be able to do that, like I said, somewhere between, let's say, just 7 and 8:30, somewhere in there.
The other thing is, you talked about, you've already got it decided for next year, but if somebody is listening and they're thinking that this person, this team should be in there, or this business, how do they nominate somebody, Kirk?
Well, the forms are out on the Facebook site. You can get them, or you can get them for any of the Booster Club members, or just email or whatever, or even a lot of cases, Laura's very good about that too. Just talk to somebody at the school district and they'll point you in the right direction. But there's a nomination out there. You can nominate a athlete or a coach or a super supporter. All 3 of those nomination forms are on the website. Or what's that one thing now that's on the school they're using?
You lost me there. I don't know.
It's all the Sports U. There we go.
All right.
And it's on there, too, that you can pick up that form. So that one you might have to have an athlete connection, or for your family. But there's a lot of supporters that are on there, too. But we've got there again. I always want to encourage that, too. A lot of people think, well, you got to get voted in or whatever else. We always are open for. We opened our it used to be limited membership into the Booster Club, but as time goes by here and people get more busy and things like that, we do have our 4 officers. Those are elected positions. Jane right now Bosworth is our president and does a nice job there. Karen Bricko is the vice president. Shelley, I don't want to call her Turgeson, but it's Stivvy. To me, she was always Shelley Turgeson, but she's married to Kirk Stibbe, so he's got a good place in my heart.
Yeah,
too, because
they're not newlyweds; they've been married a few years.
Yeah, they've been married a few years. She's got a nice, fine athlete. She's several athletes through this. Both of them have. And then let's see, who's the treasurer? No, Sheila. She'll get mad at me. She's not very far away. She'll kick me. Sheila Buchholz is our treasurer.
Okay.
Yeah, so a nice group there, but we're always looking for new members too, because like you say, we get involved with all these tournaments and fundraisers, and it really, again, like you said, it takes a team to get it done. We have to rally our group, and say, all right, all team members, we need you all here Saturday, because it takes a while to set up and it takes a while to run it.
All right, that super sectional this year, you had to have a lot of workers for that, didn't you?
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah,
we did a good job there, yep.
Well, thanks for all you do and continue to do, and we hope people will come out for Sting Night. No tickets are necessary. Just show up.
No,
right?
No tickets. No admission fee. The appetizers or the food that's served in the banquet hall is free. Enjoy that. Again, that's a donation given by the Phoenix Center, so indulge in that. But then also, like I say, be sure to, if you're looking, you come hungry if you want, because I tell you can't find a whole lot better food than at the Phoenix Center.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming in today, Kirk.
Well, thank you, Phil. Appreciate it a lot. Like I say, WRCO has always been here for our athletes and for our community, and we're just really thankful that we got this type of organization in our community.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you for saying that. Sports Booster Night against Sting Night coming up next Saturday night, the 18th. Kirk Layer from the Richland Center Sports Boosters, our guest on today's morning show.